Okay, well, welcome to the one of our last days. I believe this is day 6 of our GrizzlyCorps graduation. Very excited to introduce our first speaker of today, Celeste. Celeste has been conducting research with UC Agriculture Natural Resources, California's Institute for Water Resources this year. Celeste earned a Bachelor's of Science in Environmental Engineering from UC Merced in 2020. Celeste comes to GrizzlyCorps with experience in the environmental engineering sector, where she worked to help make drinking water more accessible to low-income communities in California. So very excited to introduce Celeste, and I'll pass things over to you now.
Thank you so much for that. What a beautiful introduction. Hi, everyone. Let's get this screen going. So here we have The Importance of Water by yours truly, an environmental engineer that is driven by Coca-Cola. That's supposed to be an engineer, pardon that. Not sponsored. So most communities in the US get their drinking water from surface water and groundwater. There is also a third, less popular option, recycled water. But since it can take a relatively long time to set up a small recycle system, and due to extensive planning and approval processes, it's almost not worth mentioning. But just so you know, recycled water is an option. With that said, surface water sources include lakes, reservoirs, and rivers, which is pretty self-explanatory, as you can see in the picture here, as well as groundwater, which comes from below the ground and it accumulates as runoff. Runoff flows through the soil and the rock. Groundwater typically needs less filtration processes than surface water since it is already filtered through the ground. However, depending on where you are getting your groundwater from, you might need to do more cleaning processes due to the fact that we have agricultural practices that happened in the past that may have involved chemicals into our water, and we just have to take the extra steps to make sure those chemicals are at a controlled threshold. So here we have a public water system. A public water system is defined as a system that provides water for human consumption of 1 to 15 or more connections or regularly serve 25 or more people daily for at least 60 days out of the year. This is just saying that as long as you have water that is available to people, to the public, whether it qualifies as a public water system. Public waters, there are 3 types. We have the community water system, which includes cities, as you can see up here. I don't know if you can see my mouse, but as you can see up here, we have the community water system, which is for cities, counties, regulated utilities, regional water systems. Next, we have transient water systems, which include rural gas stations, restaurants, state and national parks. And then finally, the non-community, non-transient water system. These are just schools and businesses. Okay, so here we have a diagram brought to you by the CDC. Basically, when we acquire our water from the water source, whether it be that of runoff, surface, groundwater, we then take it to the treatment plant, where it goes through a process between coagulation, flocculation, sedimentation, filtration, and disinfection. And then we deliver it to the community, where it is then distributed to the public. Now, I want to get into the details of the treatment side, just so you have a pretty rough understanding of what's going on here. So in coagulation, the first step is removing the solids from the water. In this process, the water is treated with positively charged chemicals to neutralize the negative charge of soils in the water. And the next step here, in flocculation. The second step is removing solids from the water. In this process, a chemical called a flocculant is added to encourage solids in water to stick together, to clump up, essentially. In the third process, for sedimentation, we remove the solids from the water. The groups of solids, we call them flock, settle to the bottom of the container and leaving the cleaner water up on the surface. Finally, the fourth and final step in removing solids from the water. In this process, the cleaner water, it results from sedimentation, passes through multiple different filters of different sizes to collect as much of the solids as possible. Finally, we have, and actually finally, is disinfection. After solids are removed, chemical disinfectants are added to the water to kill any remaining parasites, bacteria, or viruses. This helps keep the water safe as it travels from the treatment plant to your tap. And it's important because depending on where you, again, depending on where you live, how old your house is, we have multiple different setups in these homes. And the reason I say that is because you can have older pipes in other homes, which can lead to sulfuric leaching into your water. So sometimes when you turn on your water, you'll see brown water coming out. But if you let time pass, eventually it'll clear up and it is safe to consume. Again, a lot of this depends. So if you have any questions about your local water, save it till the end of the presentation because we have plenty of answers for you. Now, what are these contaminants? What are these solids? What are these viruses that we're talking about? A lot of these contaminants vary from biological to chemical. They can affect the human health, the taste, the odor, or the color of the water. Drinking water quality standards protect the public from the health impacts caused by said contaminants. They are monitored based on water parameters. So the first one for biological, we have bacteria, parasites like E. coli. They originate from multiple different pollutant sources: water runoff, fecal matter from animals. It's it's a rather natural thing. Illnesses can result, and they excuse me, excuse me. Illnesses and infection can be a result, which is why we take care of this during the cleaning process. Now, turbidity is a more obvious contaminant. All it is just a measurement of the clarity of the water. Basically, the higher your turbidity, the cloudier your water will look. This could be because of soil. This could be because of, I didn't have a second idea queued up for that, but it could be anything. It's just something suspended in the water is what will be measured for turbidity. Metals, they are naturally present in all water bodies. They sound scary, but you do tend to have some traces of copper or other elements in your water, and it's totally okay to a degree. This is due to geology of the local area, but higher concentrations of metals are common result from human pollution. Now, pH, short for potential of hydrogen. It is a measure of acidity in water. pH value of less than 7 tends to be more acidic, whereas a pH greater than 7 is more alkaline or basic. We'll take a closer look of that in the pH scale in just a moment. Finally, we have chemicals that are a byproduct of industrial activity, like agriculture and manufacturing. Remember when I mentioned agriculture practices back in the 1940s? They introduced 1,2,3 TCP into immersed groundwaters. Nothing against farmers. By all means, heck yeah, farmers. The only issue is because of past practices, we have to accommodate for that in the present, you know? Okay, so here we have the pH scale. It's a list of everyday household items that you are most likely familiar with. Though a lot of these items seem like safe substances, just know that the pH scale extends to realms that we may do some extra research on. So something more chemical based, we'll definitely have to do more research on. But for here, we'll just see that you can see that soda sits at about 3 acidic, a 3 on the pH scale, which tends to be a little more acidic. Water is typically in the middle, which is 7. However, you do need to know, like, water tends to be whether it can lean 6 or 8, but that's totally okay. But yeah, here we have just a pretty basic, good understanding list of household products. Now, this next step, just for quick, this is going to be a little confusing, so do not worry. Here, we're going to break down our water county report. Just so you know, this is specifically Merced. On the left side, we have English, and on the right side, it's Spanish. Same setup, same concept. Don't worry, we'll go through this because it can be a lot. So this first yellow segment is just a list of contaminants. Like we mentioned earlier, it varies from multiple different amounts of contaminants. This is just the list. So this left side here, highlighted in yellow, is just the list. Next, we have our MCLs and PHGs. MCLs are protective standards established by regulations, which public water systems must meet. An MCL is set based on health risk, detectability, treatability, and cost for treatment for a contaminant. Just so you know, we can clean our water 100%, but it is not financially feasible, nor do we have all the resources for it. So we have to try to get as close as we can to the line. PhDs reflect the level of contaminants in drinking water that pose no significant health risk in consuming for a lifetime. PhDs are established using risk assessment principles and by knowing the cost and health risk associated with contaminants, but are not legally enforced for public water systems. So you can see them correlating here, what I have going on. It's pretty color coordinated, so I'm pretty happy about that. And then finally, on our blue segment, a public health goal is first established for a contaminant base known as scientific data, followed by an enforced maximum contaminant level, MCLs required are established as close to PhDs as possible, but may surpass PhDs. Up here, it's a little hard to tell, but there's this blue border, a lighter blue border on this upper segment. This is the primary drinking standard. And again, this top side, the one that we're pointing to on all these diagrams, are English, and the bottom side, all it is Spanish. So no worries. Primary drinking water standards protect public health by limiting the levels of contaminants in water that pose significant health risks. Secondary drinking standards are including contaminants that may affect the cosmetic or aesthetic and characteristics of the water. So the taste, the smell, the color. This is just the visual side of it. And honestly, that's it. That's it to this entire diagram. You have your chemicals, you have your MCLs, your PhDs, the relationship, your primary drinking standards, and your secondary drinking standards. Again, this is for Merced specifically, Merced County specifically. And many counties have their own, you can look it up online. Most likely if you're in a city or if you're in a public area, you will have water sent to you from the city, the community, the county, and it'll be cleaned up. And they have to have this information public for you. If not, which is very likely that it won't happen, but if not, you will have to talk to your city about this. The only times you won't have this issue is if you have a if you don't have this opportunity, is if you have a private well. And the reason for that is because usually people who live out in the more rural areas in the countryside, they have a private well that they just literally pick up water from. And that's where this is where we want to help people. So thank you for your time. Was this presentation too fast? Do you need to go over the information on your own rate? No, worry not. Follow this QR code. And this is Rufus. He likes drinking water. So a little more to my presentation. This is the website. I already have it loaded up. I've been working on this website for California Institute for Water Resources because we have all the fact sheets here. I have been working on these fact sheets here, and I've just duplicated them onto the website. Now, the reason I'm not showing the website yet is because it's kind of embarrassing how underdeveloped this page is. So we're trying to give our thanks here. Which is still in works. I will express a little emotion where it's very frustrating because this thing is very slow, and this isn't supposed to look like this, is all I'm saying. This was set up very differently, and when I came back, it looks like this, but it's okay because when you click on it, I'm not going to click on it mostly because it takes forever to load, but I already have it loaded here. This is the fact sheets just pasted on there. You can interact if you're curious. Okay, what is this diagram for? It'll show you. This is where all our information is. If you have any questions here, we have who you can go to if you have any questions about it. Here we have the documents in PDF format themselves in both English and Spanish. So this will conclude my presentation. And if you have any questions, here's Rufus.
Incredible.